We are so excited for this next session, what we're calling a youth table talk. Some of you who may have seen the Facebook Red Table Talks hosted by Jada Pinkett Smith and her family might already have a sense of what we mean by table talk, but the idea is to have our fellows come around a virtual table and discuss some topics that are important to them. This session was designed by our fellows, Taisha, Jaime, and Z. They mapped out the topics, they defined the areas of emphasis, and worked together to design a really fantastic discussion session. There's also going to be some time for audience Q&A and audience engagement, so please post questions and comments you have for our fellows in the chat. Benito Lopez Sanchez, one of our national young leaders who's been supporting LEAP since it began, will be our facilitator for the table talk. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Benito and our fellows to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Dina. My name is Benito. Like Dina said, I was starting here through the KC Foundation, through JGSG as a council member, and then got nominated to work with LEAP. Pretty much started throughout the whole process. But today's not about me though. It's about some of our other young leaders coming up and about them. So we can start with going around. Let's start with Jaime. If you want to share your name, pronouns, and some things that are motivating you right now and what you're looking forward towards, as well as where you're located.
Hi, my name is Jaime. I am 19 years old now. My pronouns are him/he. I'm here situated in San Diego, in the Bay Area. It's brightly sunny today, so we have wonderful weather. I joined the LEAP program only recently, and after joining them and them giving me incredible support, I had the pleasure and honor of joining the fellowship and working with you guys and being able to speak today. Some stuff that's motivating me right now is I'm helping organize a community project in which we're trying to beautify an underserved area of the community here in San Diego, where we're trying to take trash away from places such as Montgomery Middle School, which is completely unacceptable that a middle school would be surrounded by trash. It's not a suitable learning environment. So I'm really motivated right now to try and help my community. I'll let other people speak now. So let's pass it on to Taisha.
Hello, my name is Taisha Thompson. I'm really excited to be here today. My pronouns are she, hers, and I am from Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm attending the university here, and I have been with the LEAP program since I was a senior in high school, so about 3 years, and recently joined the LEAP Fellows, and it's been an amazing experience. I love it. I'm really excited to just hear all the different perspectives going on today and what everyone has to offer and what's going on. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Z now.
Hi everyone, I'm Zorina Lalai, but everybody knows me as Z. My pronouns are she, her. What is motivating me right now? I would say my son is my biggest motivation right now. I am a young mom and I am a mom first before anything. And what am I looking forward towards the future? I think securing a career in the social working field is what I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I'm super excited to see everybody and to hear everybody's stories and opinions about what's going to go on today. So super excited.
Awesome. And I was thinking, like, before we actually start like diving into like some of these questions, to know that like we are within creating this safe space for ourselves to express ourselves freely, to share your opinions, to share your viewpoints, your experiences, whatever you feel is most comfortable for yourself to share. And keeping that in mind, as well as like we're in a non-judgmental like area even within the Zoom meeting, we're not recreating this space. And I like to do that, and I like to say that as well as for myself, because I share a lot, And what may seem to be for others as TMI is completely normal for me. So let's keep that in mind. Let's start with Jaime. Okay. So we talked about like the importance of providing supports to young people. And I know public speaking came up for you. So tell us more from yourself. Why is public speaking important to have in like the field, any field that you're going into, as well as like just being young advocates in particular?
Thank you, Benito. So I brought up public speaking because in my personal experience, it has been the foundation for all other skills that the youth needs and people in general need, right? When you think about anything from politics, from positions like being the president to just being able to present yourself in an interview for any job position, public speaking is a foundational skill that everybody should know. And it's something that is, funnily enough, not very thoroughly taught in school, right? You have to wait till you're in college to even go to a communications class in which they teach you public speaking or oral communication, right? And I think it should be a fundamental step in young people's growth, especially going through elementary all the way to high school, right? And the fact that we as a community are not putting an emphasis in it seems ridiculous to me, which is why I think that we should put our focus in trying to help communities, especially the underserved communities, being able to express themselves, because we are dealing with issues of all sorts of kinds. Every single problem needs some kind of solution. And how are we supposed to know what are the problems that need to be solved immediately, and how do we need to serve those underserved communities without them having the ability to speak for themselves and give out the information, right? Anybody can guess what problems or what solutions there should be implemented, but the only ones that truly have the experience of being in those problems are the people in underserved communities, which are also the ones that are less able to or are less skilled in public speaking, right? So I think that is why public speaking should be a more focused skill. And I think it would be a great addition to the curriculum over in the LEAP program to give people the ability to speak for themselves. Think about protests, think about social movements. If we all had the ability to be great speakers, such as Martin Luther King, which was like a martyr at the time when it came to protest, such a wonderful speaker, right? If we had more Martin Luther Kings today, think about all the change we could enact and all the every single thing we as a community could come towards and put our voice out there, and not just in the national level, but on an international level, bring awareness to other people, show that the community, that the people of America are skilled and intelligent individuals.
No, it makes complete sense. And I completely agree. Being able to contextualize as well as speak freely to where everybody that you're speaking to can understand exactly what you're saying. And that's what I'm seeing, as well as how people in communities can feel some type of way because they don't have that. It makes complete sense, and I completely agree with that. And I don't know if somebody else wants to chime in on that as well, share something from your experiences of why you feel like that's important as well. Please do.
Yeah, so for me, public speaking has been something I've struggled with for a long time. I've just always hated getting up in front of everyone and sharing my perspective. And so what I was able to identify that leaders need those skills so that they're able to communicate the problems effectively to create the change. Without those skills, you can kind of just yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of where I was going with that. But those skills are necessary in order to communicate effectively.
Right. No, that's fine. Yeah, I appreciate you chiming in. Yeah, and that's actually I can see how connecting the dots within public speaking and sharing that through individuals is actually really a great segue. For our next question for Z, is actually how can we, and when we spoke before, I know this was really something important to you that really hit the core, is how can we empower youth as advocates? by using that public speaking.
Right, because I was just thinking about how like public speaking and advocacy goes hand in hand, but I want to like break down the anxious like feeling around advocacy, because advocacy is not always behind a panel, you know what I mean? And a leadership role, advocacy can just be independent and you just saying no to a lot of things. When people ask you, hey, do you want to go out? Advocating is when you're like, oh, I don't feel, you know what I mean? I don't feel like I want to go out. Advocacy is such a, every time I hear advocacy, I feel like people have it in the back of their head, this like big room, you know what I mean? In front of a lot of people, mainly adults, right? And for youth, that's very scary. And what I try to like connect with youth is like public speaking and like advocacy. If we break them down, it's like, it's what we do every day. We might not have those skills, but it's like, it's simply saying a yes or no and then building off of that, right? Public speaking for me started off as just not this standing in front of audience. Actually, Covenant House held a public speaking um group, and we never like was in front of people saying things like through essays or through making our points, but it was just like everyday topics, talking about everyday topics. Public speaking, I feel is more of like an action, more of like a setting. So if we could break those down and make them seem like it's not so big and grand and scary for youth, I feel like that would help them more. But public speaking obviously goes together because you are trying to effectively make a point, whether through your story or opinions. And yeah, did I answer that question? Yeah, I think I did.
No, yeah. No, you hit the nail on the head for sure. Just having it like be used an everyday process, making it normalized, making it something that's we're doing right now, like making it talking to your friends, where it's like as easy like you know, opening up your phone or something, like using social media. Like no,
Yeah.
it makes complete sense. I think like it really does. And I know Jaime, like with you having like seeing that like from a different perspective and like bringing that to like the community as well. Like I think like what Taisha was saying as well, like having that as a skill, having that as a curriculum, something that can be built upon. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And to, you know, elevate C's point, like as she said, it's not necessarily advocating for youth means to, you know, put them up in a huge audience, but also opening spaces for youth to talk to youth. You know, I feel like communication is key when it comes to talking about important issues and getting more young people like involved. It's very hard, you know, sometimes for adults to try and like inform young people. I don't know if it's like a mental block we get since trying not to listen to our parents in some sense, right? But I've worked as a peer mentor, and I've found that information that is out there and that's been given by adults to first year students is listened to much more when another student or a peer in this case is explaining how they are experiencing it, right? So something I go through a lot is explaining financial aid and how financial aid works and how you can, you know, college of course is expensive, but if you know how to manage the system, you can get a lot of money and help you pay for it, right? And all that information has been given to them, but when I explain from my perspective and how I have used that information, it's like a switch turns on and they're able to, you know, like focus and like find it really interesting, and they're like, oh my god, I wish I knew this, right? So I feel like we can translate that to many other aspects of life, in which if we give more youth, you know, of course, prepare them to speak with other youth and share this experiences and share this information, there might be more open or retained information better than in other traditional settings, right? So that should open, you know, questions on like, maybe we've been, you know, sharing this information wrong, or maybe there's better ways where we can combine our traditional methods and new methods of getting information out to youth members. So I think that as he said, that would open up like a bunch of new ideas of how we can ensure that our youth members are gaining valuable information and that they're retaining it, right? I think it's very important.
Yeah, no, and that's actually perfect because Taisha, that's actually coming right to you, because that's perfect for like how you're saying you're questioning how the system is working, as well as like how we can support it. And Taisha, a question for you is, how can we support young people and use their stories in a way that are empowering, like by just everything that we've already said? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is just connecting them with leadership opportunities, because they have the freedom to share their own story. And a lot of youth, like, they don't feel like they have control over their life at a young age. And so growing up, it's just nice to take that control and use it for good, and use your story and experience to create change. And like Jaime just mentioned, the peer-to-peer connect at the university right now, we're creating a registered student organization that's going to bring together a lot of youth that has been involved in the foster system. And so I'm really excited to get that going and get that started, because I feel like we can learn so much from each other. And it's, in my experience, it's a lot easier to open up to someone close to my age that has maybe the similar experience than it is to just sit down with an adult and explain stuff that they probably personally have never experienced. And another thing is just for those adults to try to create a relationship and create trust with the young people, so that they're able to have that relationship where they can open up and use their stories.
Right. And like, it makes complete sense, because I'm a dad, and with the little one running behind me, I'm like trying to explain things to her, and it just goes over her head. But if her cousin or somebody, her aunt, says something, then it's like, oh, okay. Then it's like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
Go
exactly.
I think we all can agree that ageism is still alive. I talk about that a lot because every time I step in a room full of adults, sorry, my son is like, every time I step in the room full of adults, there's always this like transparent wall, right, between youth and adults, because there's always that scary factor of like, we grew up where we think age matters, right, when it comes to education, when it comes to being ready to tell a story, or whatever that may be. And that's why I always advocate the fact that adults need to be the ones reaching out to youth and making those safe spaces, and then empowering you to know the difference between sharing their voice, sharing too much, and not sharing, and realizing there's all power in three, right? There's also power with withholding information. There's also power with you just sitting there and being like, you know what I mean? It's okay, I'm not going to share today, right? Because there's always going to be other opportunities. And I always want to empower you to be like, maybe if not today, one day, right? And then adults need to confirm that and reassure that. The reason why peers are more comfortable with talking to other peers their age is because the wall is removed. That uncomfortable wall is removed. It's like, there's no judgment, there's no high expectation, right? Of like, if you're going to tell me this information, I'm not going to lecture you for 30 minutes about how you're wrong. Sometimes you don't want to hear that they're wrong, but just how they're guided through their idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reassurance, and then giving them advice, and then supporting them. I think
Right.
that's the biggest thing that we need to do, like as a community. Each community is that big word: support youth voice. And youth voice sounds like youth input, right? Youth investment, youth empowerment. So all of those things, like if you're doing that, I would like to see youth in that conversation.
Right. No, yeah, that makes sense. I can see you're like, huh? No, yeah, it makes complete sense. Like being able to have somebody that's open and understanding, to know that like they're still learning in their own ways as well. Like they're still developing. Having that like adult figure there is not necessarily like as a label. It's more of just like, we are human, we're in a space together, and we're doing the work and supporting one another. No, yeah, it makes complete sense. And like having that, so like I kind of want to ask more in a sense of like, where was it like, what if you feel comfortable enough like at answering, like when was a time that like it really hit you to be like, I need somebody to be there to listen, to like guide me and not tell me what to do in my life? And like whoever, yeah, wants to go first, please just popcorn.
Sorry, excuse my son. But I was about
No,
to say,
it's fine. Don't say sorry, yo. You're good. You're good.
I was about to say, I would think my moment was when my my first days of being a homeless youth, which was not too long ago, right? I was experiencing homelessness as a youth, and I think that was back in 2017. And I realized when I came into Covenant House, and just let's put them on the spotlight. When I came into Covenant House and I was experiencing homelessness, I realized like I didn't want nobody to tell me what to do. I just needed somebody to support me. Right. I was getting so tired of people telling me what to do. I literally left my unhealthy situation at home because I'd had so much adults literally telling me what to do instead of asking me, what do I want? And when I had my first case manager, right, at Covenant House, and he asked me that, tell me why I didn't know that answer. I did not know that answer. And I was like, even if I tell you, would you support me? And he did. And I think that was my journey of like, I just want to be listened to. Like, I think every youth, especially from the ages of like 14 to like 21, because I still feel like 21 is young and it's still young, but you know, the system is like, no, you're old enough already. You don't need resources. But anyway, 14 to 21, 21, I feel like that just needs to be, I think we need to stop saying this is what you need and start saying more, what do you need and how can we support that? So like that was a moment for me, was my homeless youth experiencing homelessness for like a couple of years, was like that fire has never died down from me, of like finding my voice, cultivating it, and then yeah. Did I answer the question?
No, yeah, you hit it again right on, nail on the head. Like, yeah, just sharing your experience, and like I appreciate you being vulnerable. Yeah, Jaime, if you want to share
I
too.
was just want to talk about what C said, and I think it's just a prime example of what we've all been talking about getting feedback straight from the source. Like instead of trying to force upon our ideals of what we think people need, we should listen. Take some time to listen, get feedback, understand what these people actually need. Such like what he said, when she got asked, "What do you want?" She didn't even know how to answer because all her life she's been told what you need to do, right? So sometimes I think a very valuable source of information for us would be to, just have open spaces for people, in our program to explain what they need, right? So that we are, they feel like they're listened to, they feel like they're supported, and I think that could cause great change, right? And my personal experience, I moved from Mexico. I left my parents. I moved to the United States by myself since I was 16. I eventually took my brother with me so he could do high school over here. And like, I don't know, it took me a while to also find somebody that I could connect to, that could really explain things to me, because I had such trouble understanding how the US system was different to the Mexican one. And every time I asked somebody, I didn't understand it until I met one counselor at Southwestern College who like really took the time to listen to what I didn't understand, because some of the questions, some of the explanations, as were under the assumption that I already had been living here for a longer time consistently, right? That I had been like that I already knew how everything worked, like, or at least the basics. And it took until a counselor in Southwestern College, all the way in college, for them to listen to me and actually like listen, see, what is it that you don't understand, for me to actually understand how everything worked, right? And like for me to, you know, ask questions and actually get valuable answers, right? So I think listening to the people we're trying to support is going to be a valuable and a necessary step to improve our program.
Yeah, and I can see why earlier you're mentioning like how it takes some individuals all the way to college to actually get that help that they're seeking. Yeah, and I appreciate that. Yeah. And Taisha, if you feel like you want to share your experience when you had that first encounter of like somebody like really listening to you and like to support you, please feel free.
Yeah, so my senior year of high school, I was placed back into foster care. And so it was just really difficult because that year was like supposed to be like the magic year, you know, like it's your senior year, you have senior skip day, all this kind of fancy stuff going on. And for me, like I was always kind of shy and reserved, and I didn't really want to share my story. But my senior year, I just realized like I don't need to be ashamed of this anymore. Like it's okay for me to reach out for help. And that's when I got connected with LEAP the first time. And it was just, I could feel like the shift of like my mindset and my energy when I was able to communicate like what it was that I was going through and what I needed, because for so many years I was just kind of like holding it in. And so just having that one person there, and for my person, he's on the Zoom today, is Felipe. He was like the first person that I actually felt so comfortable like telling him my whole life story, and just even friends in high school. Like I never really shared too much of what I've gone through. And so that's just the biggest thing, is once you find that one person, then it just, you can feel like a wall has been lifted, and it just feels so amazing.
Can I just say something real quick? It
Yeah,
is so
please.
healing to tell your story in the right way when an adult or another energy is guiding you through that. Because just like Benito, because I was digging into it, I share a lot of my life story, and I forget that like also being trauma informed, to also know when to hold back my story or not say, you know what I mean, a couple things to trigger other youth. Because that's one thing I learned in advocating, is like, again, the three powers of like when to go all out, when to hold back, and maybe when to not speak at all. And those powers in those three. And like, I feel you, Taisha, with the whole sharing your story and the power shifting. It feels so good to not even like another youth listening to me, but an adult, right? It feels less scary. But I also want to like bring up because I know Mickey brought it up last time. How do we, because I'm still trying to answer the question, how do we navigate? Sorry, Benito, I'm about to ask a question, and it's your job.
No,
but, Mickey
please,
brought up,
like
how do we advocate? How do we advocate in unsafe spaces? And I think the only answer like I came up with is to be more of a listener than a talker, because I like to read the room. So if I know if it's an unsafe space, maybe I'll take more from it and the audience and whoever is moderating by just sitting back and listening. And to know that the main question is if I share my story, is it going to be genuinely received? Right? Is it going to make an impact? Like those questions will be running through my head in that unsafe space, but I still don't have all the answers for that. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in just a little bit. I think what Z just said is very important, is that when we share our story, we don't always know like where that's going to go. And so for kids like to feel safe in those spaces is kind of just like sit them down and walk them through like what exactly that you're going to gain from them telling their story, or what change is going to come from that person sharing their story, who they can help. Because I know for me, like my biggest thing is like helping other youth who has been in the situation that I have been. And so just letting them know why and how their story is going to impact the community.
Yeah. Yeah. It may seem strange for some, but I do like kind of like sitting in moments of silence because it's a lot of information. And it's a lot of like really deep like connections with people, and like to fully understand that, like you do need you sometimes need a second to process all that. But I do want to say, like, I think I'm like, thank you all. Like, yeah, you guys see me smiling over here, like when you guys are talking, but like, yeah, like it really does make me happy knowing that, like, you know, like just being in this space and like hearing you guys, like, you know, speak your truth and speak your honesty and speak from your own experiences, so that you're like, because you know the impact and you know how like that's gonna help, as well as like what change is gonna make. So I appreciate you all. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. But I think I was getting a little message about we have like our last 13 minutes or so for Q&A from our audience. I think the first one we got was from Ephraim. How would you translate the need for youth and frankly everyone to be listened to and not told translate into staff development and training?
Could you repeat that one more time?
So how would you translate the need for youth? Like, so how would you speak to people like what youth need, and frankly everyone to be listened to and not told translate into staff development and training? Meaning, like, so what would you say the differences be like between speaking about what youth need versus what staff need? If I got that correctly.
Yeah. Kind of like how we're talking about, you know, trying to give information to youth, but also listening to what they want to get, right? Kind of like, how do we balance that?
Okay, 1 second. Ephraim, if you want to chime in a little bit and give a little bit of a more in detail of what you meant by that.
Sure. Can you help me? I mean, can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's a whole separate question whether you're going to help me. Yeah, the question was, yeah, I mean, I'm moved by what you all have said. A long time ago was a teacher and counselor and different things, and I hear exactly what you're saying. What I'm less clear about is what's your advice to programs about how to help staff that come to their programs, whether it's Covenant House, SBCS, The Door, another LEAP site, whatever. How would you go about, advising the programs to help train their staff to be able to do that? Because it just strikes me that it's not something you're necessarily born with, that you understand how to do that. So how would you go about training staff? And I really don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's a very, very valid question. And now I understand what you mean by that. So how do we go about helping? How do we go about setting up a program that also takes into account, well, pretty much the members' opinion, right? So
Yes.
when it comes to that, we're, it's pretty brand new territory. So there's no one set way to do so. But I think the very first big step is to get the staff members in contact with the youth members, right? Have that conversation, have that connection, right? We have to set up the conversation first so that we can start troubleshooting. Again, we're most likely going to find issues along the way of how to, manage, trying to get what members want and being realistic as to what is possible to do. Because we gotta be honest, like not everything that youth members want can be done, right? Or it cannot be done immediately. So I think the very first step is to have that conversation, make that space for staff members to be able to contact youth members and have that conversation as to what they want from the program. right? And then from there, we can start thinking, okay, based on these conversations, what training do we need to, advise for the staff members in order to support those needs, right? Because right now the biggest question isn't necessarily how to train them, but what to train them about, right? Because if we don't have that conversation first, there is no context, there's no information for us to start thinking about, okay, how do we train our staff members to advise the specific needs, right? So I think that the very first step is to have that feedback between the youth members and the staff members, or in order to contextualize what it is that we have to solve. I don't know if that was clear.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, makes sense. And I also heard something in there, I don't know if you hit it on specifically, but like an importance of like having those staff members understand that they're in a learning environment as well within themselves. And having that mentality going within that space is like, you are not just this individual that's a higher power and trying to help you out. No, like leave your ego at the door. You're here in a space that we're all equal and we're all here together learning to uplift one another.
Yeah, kind of being self-improving. And I think this convening is a perfect example. The fact that we are giving a spot and opportunity to speak about our opinions of the program and how, from our perspective, how we felt about the program. I think that's, again, this could be like the prototype to what other programs should have, right? So like each individual program having conversations with youth members, right? And of course, it's with everything. No program, no thing is going to be perfect from the start. And if we have a mentality of we're like always improving and always adapting, I think the program could be a great success. Well, even an even better success would be a more wise word.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think we have enough time for one more question. And I kind of want to have that individual chime in as well. Can we bring up Felipe? I know he had another question as well.
I thought, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, my question is, so we talked about the importance of relationships, the importance of being heard and understood, and like building that trust. I'm curious from you three, how does that influence academic progress or progress in a job or with relationships with other people? Like, how does that, if it does, impact other areas of your life?
Wait, your question was like what we talked about. How does that improve? How does that can you clarify a little bit more?
Yeah, so
because I was ready to answer, but I want to answer.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking that we're here talking about kind of the professionals in the room who are tasked with connecting with young people, and you're all sharing how important it is to be heard, understood, build the importance of trust. How does that ripple effect into other areas? Because here we're talking about the importance of education or career or parenting. This is just the relationships. How do positive relationships with these adults, with these professionals, impact other areas in your life, if at all?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, how does your relationship with an individual through the program affect multiple areas of your life?
I think it's very important. I think with any youth that you serve, it is very vital to not just get to know their name, but their story and create a relationship with them. With boundaries, of course, healthy boundaries, guys. I feel like that helped me a lot with just meeting just one adult that cared about me and loved me and supported me throughout my journey. Was like, it was so refreshing. It was like an opening door to my growth. I think people underestimate how listening, right? And listening with intention to somebody's story, even if it's like for 30 seconds, how that makes somebody feel, especially the youth that are like, the youth are being served in areas of like housing and foster care and like with Jaime's situation, finding that community, even if it's just with one adult that could make a difference, right? With one provider, with one person that from any service that youth are coming to you for. Building a relationship has helped me quite a lot. It also made me see services that the providers were giving youth in a different way. Because there's like a channel, right, between me and an adult. Like if I don't understand something, or I feel like, hey, I'm not getting all that I need, I can go to this specific adult that I trust, right, that I build a relationship with, to be able to help me and support me, or even advocate or vouch my problems, right, to the system or whatever, practically using their position of power, right, to help me. And I feel like seeing that and experiencing that helped me with my journey like way more than I could have done on my own.
Right. Having that one individual just like have that ripple effect. And I know Taisha, it looked like you were gonna say something as well.
Yeah, so for having a relationship where you can trust an individual, for me, I was able to share my story completely for the first time with someone. And so my mental health was good. And so I was able to focus on other aspects of like school and work, because if your mental health isn't good and you're just going in a funk, you're not able to apply yourself to other aspects of your life. And so it all just kind of ties in together. And Z kind of mentioned like the resource part of it is like when I used to meet with you, Felipe, you would connect me with like tutors or whatever. And so with that, I was able to focus on my academic career, able to really succeed in that. And that's because I trusted you, and I was comfortable enough to like reach out and be like, hey, I really need help in this area. What can I do? So yeah.
And Jaime, you had your hand up too.
So what I wanted to say about that question was, in my personal experience, I've seen, programs like these and any other program, there's always a couple of people that, get really involved, right? That go a step and beyond. And those people usually are make a relationship with staff members or organizers. So in my scenario, once I started to build a connection with, for example, Michelle or Araceli, and we started to connect about the program, what the program benefits were. After I joined the fellowship, I found myself getting more and more involved, more and more invested in what the program was offering. Like I started going to every single workshop that the program was offering. Getting once you have that connection with the staff members, you feel like you feel like part of the project, right? You feel part of the program, and you get yourself more involved. And I find that sometimes that's certain individuals that for some reason get in contact with the staff members, or maybe their personalities push them to build that connection. But some other youth members are not necessarily going to be like that, right? Some youth members need a little bit of like a reaching hand, trying, like in this case, maybe staff members reaching out or sitting down with students. And of course, we're not expecting 100% rate where like every single youth member gets 100% involved. Every single youth member gets that opportunity to, we're looking for the people that have the potential, to get involved in the program and to, excel, to have that opportunity, that window of opportunity to get involved, right? So people that maybe their personality, makes them more shy and less likely to, talk with staff members, but have the potential to become great, participants, and give them that window of opportunity, right? Again, we're not expecting 100% everybody, but we're expecting that if we can give that window of opportunity to everybody equally, then more people with potential, more people with the interest will step up.
Right. Yeah, and I like that a lot. And like that's actually perfect timing, because we actually are having to move on to our next session. Although it felt like, I know I mentioned it before, we only had like 30-45 minutes, but it felt like 10, just given the conversation that we're having, as well as like sharing you guys' experience. but I appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys sharing and creating this this environment of just like being open and non-judgmental, and pretty much setting the stage for like what this meeting, what this convening is about, what LEAP is about as well, and like what the community holds within itself. So I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. And I'll pass it over to Dina though.